we are live. That was probably loud, sorry. What is up, everybody? It is Saturday again. So we're on to our fourth stream now. This will be the last stream that we make a brand new piece. The stream after this will be kind of refining, polishing some things. And then the stream after that is a presentation stream where you guys, have been following along with your own projects and posting on Discord. I'll look through them and we'll kind of talk about them in the last stream. So, introductions. If this is your first stream joining with us, welcome. Interesting choice to start with number 4, but that's fine. My name is Josh Durham. I'm an art director, concept artist. I've been at this for 11 years now, and we are currently working on our own project from scratch. And we have made 2 pieces, and then we did a research stream. So now this will be the third piece to kind of tie some stuff together. So, how's it going, T-Scar? I still hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm assuming so. Welcome. So, for this stream, what I wanted to do, on our last stream, we ran out of time a little bit. We had the front view of the shrine that we were working on, but we didn't get to the side view. So I wanted to do a piece that we could definitely get roughed out in time, since we were limited on 2.5, 3 hours. How's it going, Sarah? Glad you could make it. I think you missed the last one, right? So for this one, I wanted to have a piece talking about, or visualizing our main character's apartment. So Yukiko, right? For her apartment, I was thinking somewhat of a slums, somewhat of kind of like almost like a Kowloon walled city feel. If you don't know what that is, let me show you, so I don't just assume you know everything I'm talking about. Kowloon walled city was an actual city in real life that was about this big. It was just like, what is that, like half a mile or so, and it was just dense. Like, it was just very dense. People were living on top of each other essentially, and I wanted this kind of feeling of this dense, populated slums that she lives in. Something to not make it super dark. Hey, Meg, and sweet, I was saying it correctly. All right, so I wanted these slums to be very populated and dense, but I don't want it to be like Judge Dredd or anything like that. If you watched the Dredd 2016 movie, which I just watched it recently, which is why it's in my head, the city looked like this. If I could find a picture of it. So it was like these mega buildings, which was similar to Cyberpunk, where they have these apartment buildings that are just dense but like really tall. I wanted something somewhat like that, where it's kind of like tall apartment slums, not just all one dense area, but I wanted to kind of portray our characters' dislike of the area as well. So I found some images beforehand just to kind of help us speed along, of some people sitting on like a rooftop, because I thought that might be cool, and then some images of like different city blocks and stuff like that. So we are going to attempt to make a piece like that, and see how it comes out. It's never perfect, but we do it anyways because it's fun. So the piece I was thinking of, at least, was starting with this one, from Unsplash. So we have no legal problems with using people. I'm not going to keep this person the way she is, as far as like design wise. I'm going to change her to match the design that we have for Yukiko, at least that we've talked about, where she has like this kind of stitched together crafted jacket, and probably not Well, I don't know. Maybe the dyed hair is kind of cool. We might keep that. We might not, though. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So I wanted something like this where she's hanging out on a rooftop. I'd probably put her like over here, and then something like something like this one, where you have this kind of crowded. Careful. You have this freaking. Thank you. All right, you have this kind of crowded slums feel to it. But the problem with this is that it's very just vertical. There's no like perspective involved. I just like the lighting on it a lot, where it has a shade and then kind of morning sunlight coming through, which shows a glimpse of like a tie-in to our first piece, because the first piece had like the sun rays coming in. So it shows that there is a little bit of hope here. It's not like just all depressing and dark and bleak. So we're just gonna try to play with that, I think. So let's just start throwing stuff together. Again, I hate a blank canvas, so I'd rather just throw stuff together and start fixing it from there. So let's see what we got. The other one I liked was this one. It's another good one, which I think is like the same area, just from a different angle, and then from a darker lighting. Something like this is cool. Again, it has this like dark with the morning atmosphere to it. So what I was thinking was she would be sitting on a rooftop like here, and then have this slum apartment high-rise like blocking any other environment, so you can't see anything other than the high-rise because it's just so dense here. So we're just gonna try that and see what happens. Perspective-wise is way off on this one, of course, because the stairs are here. If she's on the roof, we'd be kind of looking more down. So we need to find images that fit this idea more. I mean, we could also adjust the perspective of this to make it better for what we need. But at the moment, I think we're just going to start with her perspective first. So I also have something like this, which I thought was fine. This is a street view and a bunch of advertisements. I don't want it to be like cyberpunky, where it's just like a ton of neon lights. But I do think advertisements are great, because they're, as much as they're supposed to sell happiness, a bunch of advertisements are super depressing. So I think it's a cool idea to have some like advertisements cutting across. So imagine if it was like, if we had a top-down view here. Imagine we were doing something like this. That's my bad. All right. Imagine if we're looking like this is we're looking top down. Imagine if we're looking this way, she would be sitting on a rooftop like here. So she's like here. And then there would be these buildings creating a bit of like a square here. Something like this. Oh, there we go. And then like that. And like that. There we go. So then she'd be sitting like here. And then we would have these buildings. But of course, that just looks like a regular neighborhood. So I think it would be cooler to have these kind of horizontal lines coming across. And the best way I think to do that would be to add these advertisements that are hanging across. So if we had a building like this is now from more of our perspective that we're going for right now. And then say like a building here. Excuse this very, very rough sketch. All right. Then we would have like these advertisements kind of coming out like this, and maybe even coming all the way across with some signs hanging off of them like this. I think that would be cool. Something like that. So you have this vertical and horizontal composition to it. I think that'd be neat. So we're going to try to play around with that idea. Looking back at what I just drew, it looks like a nightmare, so I hope you could follow along with that. Okay, so what I'm thinking is that we're going to start with this image, because this is like great perspective wise. If we put her on top and then we're the dark in it, you can see that perspective matches pretty well. So let's first off take her out. So if you go to select subject, which is like a newer feature, it's great. It'll select everything that's in focus, which in this case is her and this pole, I guess. Weird. There we go. And then down here, we don't want that. Cool. So now we've got her selected, so we didn't have to go in and try to roughly mask out her hair or anything. And we can go ahead and just grab the rest of this here, like that. I'm gonna keep this little bump here for the cool factor. And then I like that little cable as well, so we're gonna keep that in there. Oops. Something like that. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. We do not live by perfect rules here. So we have her selected. No thank you. Got it. So now we can probably, what we can probably do is we can use this image here, this one, as a back wall to this street, because we don't want, I mean, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do this. I'm just saying that in my idea, I don't want to see like a whole city street or anything like that. I was thinking more of she's kind of in like this block building. So I want to block off the edge of the street there to where you can't see it. So we're going to kind of just put that in the way. We do have to match the perspective a bit though. So perspective would be closer to the here. And then we can darken it a bit like so. And then we'll take this, darken it a bit because I don't want it to be so bright. So it'd be closer to like, and again, I'm just playing around here, so some things will work, some things won't, and then we'll throw it away if it doesn't. Cool. All right. So what I'm going to do is going to be very messy, but please bear with me. It will not be as messy, I swear. First off, we're going to, let's just get rid of that. We don't need that. Let's take this and do like that. Kind of blend it in on the edges a little bit more so it fits the buildings. I don't like that, so we're just gonna content aware here, which is gonna be very messy. Then we are going to content aware down here. Again, it's gonna look like, well, that actually came okay. And then I like this variety here on the right with the different colors and everything. This left piece, I only did this content aware, even though it looks like an absolute nightmare, because I wanted to kind of fill in through our preview up here on the navigator. I wanted to get somewhat of the lighting composition figured out. Pretty rough. So now we have the idea that this place is kind of enclosed, right? We might lower her a bit. I think she's a bit too high on the composition. Probably like here. And then let's content aware this again. Like that. Cool. All right. So now we have a disgusting piece of just like this Doctor Strange looking artifacts over here on the left. And then we can see that there are some cars and stuff still left at the bottom. We want to get rid of the cars because this is like a neighborhood, not a street. So we're going to replace that just by grabbing that. Good enough. Okay, so we've got that. We've got that. If we change this to normal, you can see the lighting that I want. But at the moment, I'm going to keep it dark. Another thing we can do is we can start adding some variety to the buildings. So, because of course on the left side. So we can bring in some shots that I found of like streets. Now this is not a street that we're on, of course, but we can fake it till we make it and pretend that these street buildings will be these sky rises or high rise skyscraper. So let's bring this in. Always comes out massive. There we go. Fun fact: this says hotel right here in Japanese. Hoteru. Just in case you wanted to know. So if we do probably a lighter color and then bring it into the shadows a bit, we're going to probably make it bigger, stretch it a bit, and then darken might actually work. Scuba do. Darken may work because it's shadowed. I know this looks terrible. I'm looking at this part mostly. So we're just gonna grab all of that and delete it. And I think that'll work, but we could try something else and see. That's kind of cool. I like the, I mean, of course the values are weird, but I like the color it added. This kind of neutral tone to it. It's kind of desaturated a bit, which counteracts the fact that the graveyard piece was super colorful. So that's not a bad idea for later. Okay, so we're just gonna put that probably like here. See what normal looks like. Nope. And we can adjust how dark it actually is. Just a smidge. Just like there. Okay. Now this is similar to how I do my cyberpunk pieces, because my cyberpunk stuff is usually very crowded and dense. So you're going to see me throw in a bunch of stuff that just looks gross until we start fixing it up a bit. Let's see. Good morning, Shorty Man. Just saw the message. I had you hidden by my reference folder over here. Okay, so I like this one as well. This is one we can play with. Very wire heavy. So it has like this poor slum feel because there's just a bunch of cables everywhere. We could try something like that. See what we come up with. I also like the signs and the color composition of it being blue with this warm tone. Probably not, again, this is Unsplash, so they overly edit some things, and you can see that it's just very blue. Probably not that blue, but we're going to play around with those wires for sure. So if we do something like that, and then we're going to grab this part, move it over here, something like that, I think. Again, very, very blue, so we're going to turn that off. Just lower the desaturation a little bit. There we go. Okay, so yeah, starting to like where it's going. It's getting very crowded, so let's kind of delete some of that in the middle, bring back some of that sunlight that's coming in. There we go. And then okay, this is going to be a, down here at the bottom, it's going to be a bit further perspective wise, so we're going to delete the people. We're going to make smaller people here to give some scale. Okay, yeah, I'm liking it. Let's continue. Yeah, so what else was there? Because we've added all these wires, we can do a little fake little cheat here, and we can copy and paste our building layer and just flip it horizontally. This is an apartment building, so it would make sense that it is pretty symmetrical in some areas. So we can then lighter color, cube. Put it like there. Put her there. There we go. Delete that. Oop. Delete that. And then we can adjust the lighting. Something like that. Kind of clean it up a bit. Make it a bit more legible. And then we're going to delete some of that. Cool. All right. So we got that going. We got that going. What's next? We could probably change the colors, I think, of the building on the left we just placed. Let's see. We just grab hue and hue and saturation, and see what other colors work. We want these kind of neutral blues for the shadows, at least. Not red per se. Not yellow either. So something like that I think is fine. It's kind of like brownish blue if we desaturate it a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Cool. Cool. So now we need to figure out the bottom piece where the people are. So to do that, I actually have a reference here that I got, I don't know, 16 millennia ago, from somewhere. If I go to sci-fi, city, where's it at? It's somewhere. I have it in my head. There it is. All right. Could use something like this one. This is a cool piece of something I've never been to before. Man, it's massive. All right, hold on, zoom out. Shrinky dink. There we go. But see, it's got some people walking around down there. Now it's very clean, which we don't want, but the people we do want. So if we could let's see. Pen light's too bright. So we'll probably do a lighter color and just drop how light it is. So like there. And then we're going to put the people down here. There we go. Then we're going to get rid of everything else. So something like we want her to be on a roof, so we don't want a staircase coming up here. So we'd want it to be like this is cut off, that's cut off, probably that's cut off. Again, I'm looking at the preview up there to see. No, because it feels more like a mall, like a storefront. So we probably won't do that. Let's do it ourselves. Let's do it ourselves. So let's just do it ourselves. If we want this section right here to be like where people are walking around, kind of like the courtyard, we would have probably like a walkway here coming this way and have it go there, and then that would be the base design, but then you'd have an exit here, and then what? So if you have an exit here, I'm just thinking like in terms of actually designing like an apartment building, you would probably have another exit like here, but it would be underneath, so you don't need to worry about that. This actually should be like a balcony, so if we do like that, this one would be balcony, and then then that's that. Okay, yeah, so that should be fine for like a ground plane. So if we just, we're not going to cover everything up at the bottom because I like the messiness of it. We're just going to kind of clean it up a little bit just so it's not so terrible. And just kind of grab some of these colors that we've already established in here. I don't want a ton of yellow. Yellow tends to come off as like industrial or construction or something like that. So I'm going to grab a little tiny bit of this like yellowish brown here just to emphasize more of a future-y kind of staircase here that goes down into the courtyard. So let's go this way. A good way to do very generic, not super advanced sci-fi shapes is these 45-degree angles on just pretty much everything. That's how cyberpunk works. If you look at V, the main character in cyberpunk that you play, if you look at their iconic jacket with the collar, so the lights go up at a 45-degree angle, then come around, and just like everything with the augmentations on their face, on their bodies, and stuff like that is all 45-degree angles. And I guess that comes off as sci-fi-ish because everything in real life, like in actual reality, is closer to like 90 degrees. And these, because you don't need, if you're doing a staircase, you don't need a 45 and a 45. You can just do a 90. But with like every sci-fi movie or show or anything ever made, it's 45 degrees. So yeah, just a little tidbit if you want to abuse a cliche, which we are doing at the moment. Feel free to do so. I'm just right now roughing in some staircases that go into a bit of a courtyard. This perspective is wrong here. Let's fix that by going this way some more, and then there, like that. There we go. Grab some more of that neutral goldish brown, just kind of accent that there is a staircase here. Okay, and then we can add no light. I don't want any light on the bottom, so we're just gonna add some color variety down here, maybe like a shadow, and then there. So now we have somewhat of a ground plane established here. I'm just roughing it in some more. I want to keep it dark, I want to keep it the same colors that are already established here, but I want to emphasize that there is like something here that people walk on. Now, it's empty. There's nobody here. I don't want that. I want people to be living here. So we are going to get rid of that silver there. We are going to add some people. Now, this is a ground plane, so they're going to be a bit far away perspective-wise. So what we can do, actually I'm going to adjust it a bit more. It's more like, no, that should be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of edge variety here by adding some like poles and stuff. Here we go. I am going to just add some people. So because it's far away, we have the advantage of not actually worrying about if the people are detailed at all. So we can kind of just fake it. So I'm going to do that on a different layer. And we're just gonna throw in some boys here. So let's just do it like there. It's a little bit too big, I think. Something like there, like here, something like here. You want to keep in mind of the staircase that I made, so you can get the idea of scale and how big these characters should be. Now, a great example of this kind of implying people is with pointillism and impressionism, like the classical art styles. They're not actually detailing people. They're kind of just implying where the details are, and then your brain is filling in the space. So that's what we're going to abuse today. of just trying to pretend. I would put a like fountain or something here in the circle, but then it would feel too high society, I think. So we're gonna just keep it very vague on just some people walking around with no like real entertainment or anything in the middle of the courtyard. Compositionally, you'll see that I'm trying to place people near each other, so they're crowded, but we'll have like little mini stories. So we have like, for example, here, I put two people, I'll zoom in. So here, I put two people next to each other. One of them kind of looked like it had an umbrella, just from the way my brush stroke was. So I put them next to each other and it feels more like a couple walking. But then over here towards the middle, we have this group of three here, and then like this little shape here. Feels more like, I don't know, people hanging out or kids or something like that. And then we want to try and keep the composition of people in general to feel more natural. So we don't want it to be like, we don't want them to, like, for example, I see one here. This one right here, these two are perfectly next to each other. You don't want that. In real life, it could happen, but it feels weird compositionally that you would have two people standing on the exact same plane. So you want to kind of just shift them over a little bit, add some variety. And yeah, so this is my very quick way to rough out some people and add a little bit of life to the image, and also add scale, because people always see two things for scale, or the two main things that people always use is like people, you know, so we know people, we at some point in our life have seen a person, and they're easy to sell scale because you already know about how big people are in general, so you can get the gist of how big a place is just by seeing a person in it. If we had left just her and not actually done anything else, it would have felt a bit more difficult on how to feel how far away everything was. But the fact that we see her up close and then these people are tiny down here, we know that there's quite a distance down. So you want to kind of just play around with that. I just saw something when I zoomed out. I, by accident, completely by accident, created a perfect line here. We have this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, creating a downslope completely by accident. And it's because I was zoomed in. This is why I generally don't zoom in when I'm working, just to keep in mind that I can see everything shapes together. So now I have to go in and fix that issue. So to do that, I'm going to just repaint these guys and move them around a little bit more. But what I was saying with the scale is that a good way to sell scale is people, of course, but then also birds. But birds is like another cliche on how to sell scale, which I say it's cliche like it's a bad thing. I use it all the time. As soon as you throw in some birds flying around, you automatically have told somebody about how big that object is, because we're used to seeing birds flying, and we know about like how far away they are and stuff like that, and when they are flying. So I will show you my point in a second, as soon as I fix that weird diagonal line I made by accident. There we go. I think somebody needs to go like here, somebody here, some more people down here. Kind of just roughing in the idea that they're there while adding some variety. There we go. All right. So what I meant by the birds is, let's say I even have a brush for it because, you know, why not? Let's say I wanted to sell the scale of this place. If I grab some birds, I want to make them white just so you can see them. So if I made the birds like here, like let's say like that, then you can already tell like, all right, So that's about how far away that is, because you can tell how small the birds are. And then I can add bigger birds like over here, and you can tell now that there's like a depth, because the further away you go, the smaller the birds. And then of course, way out in the distance, it'd be like really tiny, something like this. So now you can scale with just birds. It is very much done all the time, so it's not like a brand new idea, but it does work. So if you're in a pinch and you can't figure out what in your environment to use for scale, or at least to sell the scale, birds will do it. All right, so perspective wise, we're looking good. I don't exactly like her being so centered, I think. So I'm also going to play around with her perspective a bit, because we want her to be a bit flatter. Right. Yeah. Something like that, I think it's fine. Okay. So, we are going to take this gap that we now made, this gap, and fill it in with content aware. With content aware, or not. This is where content aware gets annoying. So we are just going to paint it in. So we're just going to do that real quick. Won't take that long. Roughly paint, do like that, some of that, and then grab some of these shadows. Going to bring them in this way on that layer. Something like that. There we go. Gonna add some dirtiness, some poles and shadows over here, just implying them, not actually doing that. There we go. All right. So we now have this general shot, but she needs to be adjusted as far as values go and design. So we're just gonna roughly fix her up. I'm just doing auto tone and auto contrast to see, but it's gonna make it brighter. So we need to make her darker, just to kind of sell the fact that she's really up close. But we don't want her, silhouetted, because we still want to see her. So we're just going to very roughly adjust her lighting and her shadows, make her darker, something like there. And then we want to adjust the fact that all of her shadows are super contrasty. And probably there. Cool. All right, so compositionally, that's feeling better. Now we can adjust the lighting some more. So let's, before we get to like actually detailing her, let's grab something. Let's see what we got. I do have some stuff from Shanghai that has this really cool warm tone on some of the buildings from like a sunset or sunrise of some sort. We could throw that in there. Scuba it up. Scuba doo doo. Yeah, alright, so we're gonna grab this one. Probably this one. And throw it over here. Just to get some of this warm lighting in here. I'm gonna use this building on the left. And then just do probably lighter color, but maybe color dodge. Maybe color dodge. And then filter, blur. I use motion blur sometimes, but today we're gonna do Gaussian blur. And we're gonna kind of just blur it out enough to where we just get the lighting adjustments, but not the actual detail of the building, because we don't want that building at all. We just want the lighting. Drop it down on how crazy it is. okay. We can go ahead and just delete it over here because we don't want lighting over there. Down here as well. There we go. And then we're going to throw in, or not throw in, we're going to adjust how bright it is. So that way it's not blinding. Because we're going from this to something a bit brighter and warmer because we want to introduce these warm tones. Something like that I think is fine. And then we can kind of just smooth it out on the edges a bit. There we go, so we get some bounce light around the area. Cool. Compositionally, looking at it, it's looking fine. It's looking fine. Alright, so this is going to require a lot of cleanup, of course. But we can kind of skip some of the cleanup if we just pretend like we want it to be this messy in certain areas. So we're going to go ahead and make a checkpoint. So duplicate, merge. There we go. Auto tone, nope, auto contrast, whoops, auto contrast, auto color, no. All right, so everything we like is already fine. So there are some people in here that are from the photos I used. Get rid of those with content aware. There are, that did a lot actually, just do little smaller pieces. There. There are some other artifacts we want to get rid of, such as this whole bright blue here on the right. Let's get rid of that. We could probably do that better if we just might actually just make it darker a little bit. What do we do with this blue here? Because I could just paint it out. Like, that's not a problem. I could just do that. But I was just wondering if we could do something with that. But I think composition wise, it'd be better to have like a frame. So we can use, for example, if we did like this, and then let's say some like pipes or something hanging off, we can make our own synthetic frame for the image using just values. So now she feels more like she's in the darkness with everything else. She's in the shadows. So we might do that, but we're going to do that a bit cleaner, I think. And to do so, we could use this other image I found. Where are you, image? Where are you? Work, matte paint. This one. Let's bring it over. So this one I found, I was thinking instead of her sitting on a slanted roof like this, she could be sitting on a flat roof all the way across the bottom, creating a bit of a frame. So we could try that and see what happens. See if it feels better. I'm not sure. Probably be bigger though. Probably like there. Get rid of all of that. Boom. And then see if she would feel better on that image. I'm just going to copy paste her on top and then just kind of move her down just so I can eyeball it. And then do like that. Again, this is going to look terrible. I'm just trying to figure out if I want her on this flat plane or on the corner piece that she was sitting on before, and see how that looks composition wise. Let's darken this, of course. That nah, it feels bland, so we're just going to not do that, and we are going to use a different frame, which I have other ways of doing that. I have plenty of ways of doing a lot of stuff. But I have these industrial kind of like, not yellow, but like these kind of poles that have like antennas. There we go. I have some antennas that we can use to kind of fake some like buildings nearby. to like close to the camera at least. So I just have to find them, and I believe I put them in here. It would appear as though I did not, because I haven't used them in a while, so I forgot where they went. Oh, here they go. Found them. I was right. I just missed it. So if we grab some of these, which these are like high-rise antennas that go on top of like skyscrapers and everything. So if we grab something like that and put it on the right side, it'll help seal the fact that she's kind of on a roof. We don't want anything massive though, nothing to distract, just something to kind of sell the idea. What that may be, I'm not entirely sure, but we are going to figure it out. Actually, that just reminded me that, okay, so we do need more, not like more advertisements to the piece, because obviously it looks hideous, but like a couple of large advertisements to kind of give your eye a break. Remember the 70-30 rule I talked about? Same thing. If you have 100% advertisements everywhere, there's nowhere to look that's like chill. So we need some like bigger billboards, I think. And we can do that in a second. I just wanted to figure this framing out a bit on the right here. We could do, because all of these images that I'm looking at are like from looking from above, like below up. So we would have to play around with the perspective and fake a rooftop on top of it. Or we can just grab like a antenna of some kind, something like this, and make it a bit smaller, a lot smaller. There we go. But then like darken it right here, level, crank that bad boy down like that, and then maybe make it a bit more obvious. I think it's too thin, so we could try something like this instead. Let's put it like right here in the bottom right somewhere, and then darken it, levels, darken, thank you. We don't want it to be pitch black, but at the moment that's what we're going with. It's really dark, just so we can tell what it looks like. Putting it on the roof is not a bad idea. Just flip it horizontal, and then maybe put it like right there-ish. That's not bad. It creates a bit of a frame because the line going straight up. And then we could do something else on the right here. But anyways, we'll do the advertisements and see what comes up. I do also have a trick in mind that you guys can use. So originally when I was thinking about this piece, I was thinking of it being a wider aspect ratio. So instead of 16:9, like widescreens are, I was thinking closer to like a film ratio of like 21:9 or so. Whatever the actual number is, like a 21 point something. Instead of trying to make that perfectly though, what I like to do is just make black lines on the top, black lines on the bottom to create a letterbox. And what that does is, one, if we're just roughing out a piece like this of just like an idea of a shot in the film or game, then it'll sell the fact that it's like cinematic because that's a letterbox and it just naturally feels cinematic. But then also by blocking the top and the bottom a little bit, it creates a tighter frame So the focal point is closer to the subject that you're actually looking at, so it'll be more focused on your actual character. And then on top of that, it has a bonus benefit of like less stuff you have to paint or design because there's less in the scene because you've now cropped it in a bit. So what I'm going to do in the next couple of steps here is I'm going to try to add some like bigger advertisements, some like billboards or something, and then I'm going to do the crop and see like what is left of the image. Then we can go ahead and work on Yukiko over here in the bottom left and clean her up, fix her up, design her as our design is. But then also, I was thinking because when we were talking about Yukiko's design in the city in general, was that she had like a garden that she tended to. I want to keep that idea. So I was thinking on this rooftop shot, we could have a couple of like plants, like potted plants that she takes care of up there. And this is kind of her getaway spot, I guess, where she's kind of just chilling out there. So yeah, that's the plan. So let's do that. Billboards references. A good one is New York, of course. New York billboards are just insane. Let's grab some from when I was there. New York City, Times Square. This is a different folder. This is one I bought online. Let's see what we got. Again, we don't want like crazy neon cyberpunk feel. We want it to feel more slums. So we want the advertisements to be there, but we don't want them to be like extremely bright and colorful. So whatever we find, whether we like it or not, we're gonna have to tone down how bright it actually is because this is New York City. We're talking like giant LED billboards. Let's see. Just grab something here. But I also got to think about the perspective. You know, looking at it, looking at the piece, I realize her rooftop is out of perspective because if we have this coming this way like that, then that means the horizon line ends up about there, and then she's on this like weird slanted building that's coming this way. It's not like out of perspective as far as like is it right or wrong. It's more of we have a composition that's coming this way like that, but she's going this way with the building. It's like breaking it. So when we throw in these ads, we'll see if it feels better, but if not, we're gonna have to whenever we adjust this, we're gonna have to fix that line right there. So billboards, what do we got? Crazy stuff, something like this. So Wicked, great musical. Haven't actually seen the musical, but I have the soundtrack over here on vinyl. But we're not at vinyl power hour yet, so I won't talk about that just yet. Let's do pin light's a good one for billboards because it'll bring out the LEDs, but not like the rest of the building, and we can get a general idea of where everything would go. I'm not a huge fan of pretty much most of this, especially not the Wicked sign, but I do like this Coca-Cola sign up here. It's creating a cool little design that I wasn't thinking about. That's pretty neat. Of course, Coca-Cola being Coca-Cola, I don't want that in there, so we're just gonna kind of cut that out. But this like whatever this is, whatever it was, it's like a person, I think. Yeah, it's a person drinking Coke. If we cut that out a little bit, desaturate it. Oops. Saturation, drop it down. We can use it as a slight bit of color. Something like that, I think. It's cool. Cool. Now it doesn't have to be like perfectly there. Like of course I can see that there's signs that we used poking out from behind it. That's fine. We'll fix it later. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Billboards. You know, another good one is Vegas. Well, Vegas is like a lot of light bulbs, so we don't want that. So, we've got, let's see, billboard, LEDs. Could do something like, something like this one is fine, I think. Yeah, this one's okay. It's not crazy bright with LEDs, but it does have some billboards lined up. So we can just kind of throw those in there, perspective wise. Yeah, darker color. Use the shadows to contrast where it actually is, and then figure it out. I'm looking at this billboard on the top right here, over here. You can kind of see it if I do that. I'm looking at that, and see if we can't throw that in like over here on the edge to add some more coolness to the piece. There we go. Okay, and if I do normal, it'll be too bright. We gotta find better advertisements. The New York's all LEDs and whatnot. So we may end up having to go to Chinatown. Chinatown has some cool stuff, which is not like massive LEDs. So let's see. Chinatown. I took some shots in San Francisco of Chinatown, of their Chinatown, but it's not like great. Like for this example, because it was more of a street view, it didn't have like a lot of signage like this. I like these signs. I just want like bigger ones. Give me big sign. Yeah, something like this or that. Yeah. All right, we'll do this first one over here. This one. This one's cool because it's got these like massive signs hanging on the side here, and we want bigger ones that pop out. So we're gonna download that. Go back to Photoshop. Go to downloads. There we go. Bring that in. Now, of course, it's straight on, so we have to fix perspective, but that's not a problem. I just want those signs. Give me the signs. There we go. Cool. So if I do lighter color, pen light works. Looking at the perspective, it goes like here-ish. And then we're gonna grab this sign right here specifically, move it like there. Maybe a little bit smaller, but still pretty big. Kind of move it like there. And then cut that out, cut that out, cut all that out. Well, actually, you know, that's fine. It added little building windows to the middle there, which I think is actually pretty fine. It adds a bit of like a fire escape feeling, which is cool. We definitely want to cut all these guys out. We want to cut that out. And we want to cut all of that out. Get rid of that. And then probably get rid of this tiny little decoration here. We're gonna constantly wear that one out though. There we go. And do that there. Cool. Okay, so now we can grab this sign, move it where we want it to be, probably there. Looking at composition. probably there. And cool. All right, so this one down here I think is too bright because it's lit up. So we're just going to darken it. Oops. Something like that. And then we're going to move it over somewhere that makes more sense. Whoops. There-ish, I think. This like vertical sign all the way across is looking pretty cool. All right, so now we can create the horizontal signage. Now that we have these like bigger signs that kind of counteract it, we can add some cabling and all that across the way. So let's do that. Now this is a fairly easy thing to do. If I continue over there, continues all the way up. Nah. No, we'll take this out. Well, I don't know, do we leave it? Take it out, leave it? I think we leave it. The problem is the middle piece, I think, is too contrasted. So we're just going to take the mid-tones and kind of crank them up a bit so it's not so bad. Like that-ish. Levels, increase the shadows, decrease the shadows, there we go, that's fine. Okay, so we are going to add wires, cables, and some like signage going across horizontally to counteract everything. So, and to do so, it's not that difficult, but it does require us to actually do it ourselves, because if we found images with wires and tried to cut out all the wires, it's just a real pain. So it's just easier to kind of make our own. So I guess before we do that, though, we should do the cropping thing I was talking about, so that way we can see where we're putting everything. So let's make a letterbox, and you're going to be blown away by how complicated it is. We're going to take a bit of the image, probably like there, and we're going to make a layer, make it pitch black. Oops, make it pitch black, and then copy paste, and then put it down here, and then merge those two, and then boom, we have a letterbox. We did it. We did it, everybody. We are masters of our craft, and you know, just don't let the haters say that you can't do it. Because we did. Because we did. There is a slight gap down here, though. Let me fix that. Whoop, careful now. All right, so if I just do that and then paint it black, just do that and then paint it black. There. Now we did it. All right, so now we can go ahead and take everything that's not that and move it and adjust the composition. Like, where do we want the shot to be actually focused on it? Do we want it to be looking higher up? Do we want it to be looking more down, etc.? I'm thinking more higher up. So like from, I don't know. If we do more down, it gives us more roof to play with, so we can add some plants. But we do here. I'm looking at the preview, by the way, at the top right as I'm doing this. Probably like there, I think, would be fine. A little bit below, probably like there. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. So now we've essentially created a more cinematic feeling. We have the lighting coming in that we want, and we've now blocked off this top bit and this bottom bit to where we don't actually have to paint anything there, which is cool. Speeds us up a bit. Yeah, I think that'd be fine. All right, so let's fix the cables and the horizontal stuff. because now we actually know what is being seen, so we can frame the shot better. So we're on an extra layer, and we're going to kind of just throw in some very rough cables here. I don't want it to be that thick. If I could fix that, there we go. And then maybe have some like hanging on it, something like that. That's about too centered, I think. Something like that. And then probably have a couple horizontals here. Now, if you just go straight across with the lasso tool, it won't be, you know, perfectly flat, of course, but it will create, if you just go straight as you can, it'll create like this this broken line here, which can give you a little bit of inspiration on like where the horizontal lines could be. Instead of having just one all the way straight across, you could have a couple of broken ones where they go a certain distance and then there's a sign there and then it's just nothing else. So that's that. Let's do like one out here and then say one over here, down here. Cool. All right, so what I just did is essentially visualizing, just using the mask tool or lasso tool, where I want the signs to be hanging at. So there's just going to be like this very rough idea of where they are. So I'm just going to make this dark, cut out, there we go. So now I got these lines that kind of give me guides on where I can put some signage of some sort. We're just going to create different shapes, different sizes. Some of them will overlap the line, some of them will go underneath the line. And we're kind of just playing around with different ideas here. Probably do something more vertical for that one. Now I do want to create more of a horizontal feeling with these signs because we have all the vertical signs on the right or on the buildings themselves. So I want to have some kind of variety to it. So you'll notice that a lot of these line signs that I'm drawing here are a bit more like rectangular in composition. There's a line here, so we're going to put something like that, and then there. Okay. Probably I didn't draw a line, but there's probably going to be one like right here as well. Something like that. Okay. So now we can go ahead and create a separate layer. Darken those just so we can see them as we're working on them. And now we can start adding a bit of color to them. Again, we don't want it to be super vibrant. We want it to be advertisements, of course, so they're going to be somewhat colored, but they're not going to be so like neon. And to do so, we can kind of just grab some of this surrounding color, throw it in there. I could put these two in the sunlight, but I don't want them to be like actually getting hit by the sunlight. So I'm going to put rim light on them. So we'll grab, I don't know, something like that, warmer tone maybe, and kind of just go across like that. Separate layer, so that way we can do the whole line. We'll just go across. Oops. We'll just go across. Am I? Oh, it's because duh. It's because I have it selected. So then we'll just go across like that, and then over here as well. I think that's probably too yellow. Desaturate that a bit, and then something like that. Something like here. And then maybe add a little bit of bounce light, which means we're going to have a little bit of a brighter value on these guys over here that are like getting some of that lighting from the building behind them bounced up onto the edge. So like there and there. Probably too bright for that one though. Like that, I think. All right, cool, cool, cool. We could do some bounce lighting on this one. Down here. Something like that. Sweet. All right. So composition wise, nothing much has changed. We've just added this like signage along the area. So now we can actually like imply that they're signs and ads, so they're gonna have crap on them. But we don't want it to be too distracting with everything else being so busy already. We wanted these to be kind of break zones for your eyes. We might make them a little bit bigger, I think. We'll make these two up close a little bit bigger. These two right here. Okay. So now we're going to make signs that feel like advertisements, but they don't take up a lot of your brain space. You definitely want a piece to feel more chill in certain areas, just so you're not like staring at a white noise. What do we do? So let's do borders first. Let's create like an advertisement with a border on it. Something like that. Oop. Like that. And then here. And then here. And there. And there. And then we're going to transparency lock, so that way whatever we paint only affects the layer. Create a bit of a border on it. Probably not that bright though. Yeah, something like that. And then maybe even a little bit darker. There we go. Now we can add a bit of color variety to it. Sweet. And then Control-Shift-I. And we're still on the same layer, so now everything we affect is in the middle. So we can kind of just rough out some variety here of a sign. Now, this is Asian themed, so we want some kind of Asian feeling to it. So we're gonna grab some of this like goldish, and we're gonna kind of just make a little hint at a frame here. Same here. It's kind of like a flowy, almost Chinese frame to it. There we go. Come across here and there. And then we'll have like the advertisement actual writing, which would be something like that, I think. Too big. Like that. Okay. Kind of blend it in a little bit so it's not so obvious. And then we're going to grab a darker tone. Maybe this one. And then kind of emphasize that these are like sticking out, you know, so they have a shadow to them. These symbols of the language that we wrote. Do a little border shadow on the actual advertisement. So like there and there, there and there, here, 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 and here. Cool. All right, so then we can probably just imply the rest of them, because that one's going to be a pretty obvious sign now. We can go ahead and just imply those same colors to the other ones. So we're just going to do something like that. Make these a bit darker so they stand out. Contrast. And then add some of that gold emphasis on there. Like that there. Same thing down here. So while I'm noodling out these frames here, I am super excited for Monday, which is not a usual sentence people say, but Monday is the 29th, and that is when Grand Blue Fantasy comes out. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and it just looks sick. I'm just so stoked for a like a open world. I mean, open world I think can be great as long as you don't focus on it being too massive. Like you look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and they made this massive open world, but there wasn't like a whole lot of variety to it, so kind of just bland. So I think like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, open world will be dope because it feels more like there's actually, it's not too massive, you know. If you have an open area, most players want to explore. Some players want to just go straight for the main missions, don't explore anything. That's not me. I like to see everything I can. And I don't know, if a map is too big, then you run into the problem where it's like, ugh, you know, oh god, I gotta run all the way over there. Generally, people don't want to do that. So this, I don't know, this Grand Blue looks like it's not going to have that problem. And then, of course, I'm just a really big fan of that art style that they have going on. It's like anime-ish, very Japanese, super cool. The combat looks cool. I didn't play the demo because I don't know. I know the demo transfers your save data. So like if you play the demo and then the game comes out, you can continue where the demo stopped. That's cool, but I don't know. It feels more like a tease, you know, because it's like I'll probably be playing the game a lot. So if I play a demo that's only say an hour or 2 hours long, I start like really getting into the game, and then the demo stops, and then I have to wait for the game to come out weeks later. No, thank you. I will just get the game when it comes out, and not worry about having to stop for it at all. That's actually why I mentioned, I don't know if it was the last stream or the stream before, but I have 100% every Metal Gear Solid game except Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear Survive. If anybody's a fan of Metal Gear Solid, they probably understand why. But Metal Gear Survive is like a Konami's take on just reusing Metal Gear Solid assets to make a game that is completely not Metal Gear Solid. It's a survival game. That's fine. The game's actually fun. It's not Metal Gear Solid, so don't go into it thinking that it is. But it is a fun game. Had a cool co-op mode. But the problem I have with it, and the reason why I did 100% with it, is that it limits you. So they made a survival game that things don't respawn for like 24 hours, like in real life. So essentially they made a survival game that wants you to check in every day. And I mean, I understand like as a business perspective where that would be a good game to sell, because then like it will say, wow, people are still playing our game weeks later. And it's like, yeah, because they can't progress unless they do like the next day. So you kind of inflate the numbers of like how long people played the game, because you're just limiting how far people can get without having to come back the next day. So I don't know. I personally not a fan of like daily missions and stuff like that. And I think Metal Gear Survive really could have been actually pretty fine if they didn't do that. Like if they just let you play like Minecraft or Ark or something where or even Power World, where you just don't have a time limit. You just do, or not time limit, but like you can just do everything in the game at any point in time. In Power World, there are bosses and stuff that respawn after like, I don't know, 10 hours or whatever the time is. I don't remember the time. But in Metal Gear Survive, all the resources that you really need because you had the craft ammo and everything didn't respawn for like 24 hours in real time. So it's like you would come in, grab what you could, do your thing, all within like 30 minutes, and then you couldn't progress anymore because everything was gone. You just had to wait till the next day. That's not great, in my opinion. So I've done the signs. I am going to fix the perspective on this building. It's not a perspective problem, it's a composition problem. This line coming across is breaking this viewpoint that we have that's coming this way. This line just cuts right across, and I don't like it. So we're going to fix that by changing the roof that she's actually sitting on. Let's do that real quick. So that's not too hard to do, especially because we're going to paint it. So what we can do is we just grab the corner building here. We want it to cut off here. Come up like that. Come across that way. And then fix the flatness. There we go. So then we're going to paint this in as a roof. Okay. Just do that real quick. But then we're going to use this. Then we're going to use this line as the shadow. Something like that. And then we're going to grab this part of the image, content aware it out, fix that again by painting that out. Just grabbing this nearby color, there we go. And then now she's on a better roof, I think, perspective wise. We could probably even have it come across more like that. Do the same thing. If I do a mask, like a lasso tool like this, and I leave a line between corners, it'll create the impression that there is a shadowed side, but the line between the corners will help you distinguish where the corner actually is. So we can kind of play around with lighting coming, or not lighting, but colors coming through the corner. There we go. So now we fixed her corner issue that fits more into the perspective that we wanted. These tiles on it don't anymore. They are now completely off. So let's fix that. We just grab this, kind of just go in like that. Blend it in a bit better. There we go. Something like that. Okay, and then this right here is on a layer above. So let's paint that out. There we go. Now you'll notice with my brush strokes, I try to paint either, there's a dark spot, either horizontally like this, or I paint with perspective that I'm going in. And the reason why is because if you have brush strokes, like if she's sitting like this, and I start painting in like this to kind of blend everything in, it'll create a hard line, like a vertical line that ruins the perspective and lighting and shadow and stuff. But if I go horizontally, then anything that I blend in will kind of match with the detail that's already there on the building. And then if I paint in perspective, then like this corner piece right here, I can go in perspective like this way, and it'll still blend in better with the surrounding detail, because I'm going with the perspective of the building instead of going vertical, creating like this weird brush stroke. So it kind of works as a contour line, where, you know, if I had a line, if I had lines going across like this, then you can feel a 3D shape because the lines are designing it. Same thing, you can kind of feel the perspective of the image just from the brush strokes going in that direction. So we got that now. It has been an hour and a half. So, you know what time it is. It's time to get up, stand up, I don't know, say hello to your neighbors, and stretch, do whatever it is that you need to do. Um, and we get to talk about some music for about 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see, what do we got? So I did mention that I had the vinyl record earlier, but for Wicked. Wicked, if you like musicals, I'm a big fan of musicals like Broadway or musical film. And Wicked is cool. It has a bit more of like a pop feel to it, and then of course, the voice actor for Elsa, Adina Menzel. I think that's her name. She was in that. She plays Elphaba. Great. I also got the Dear Evan Hansen soundtrack, which is another musical that is very much a sad movie, but great movie from Ben Platt, and also, according to what I've heard, the play is also great. I haven't seen it. I have Hamilton, huge fan of Hamilton. That I have seen on Broadway. Got the whole soundtrack here, which that one is 4 discs, like 4 records. But besides musicals, I did want to mention, last time I talked about Otto, the Japanese vinyl that I had imported. But this time I would like to bring up Sayuri, who is... what was the name of the album? It was... Mikazuki no Kokai. Mikazuki no Kokai. This is her album that I like the most. Came out in 2017. I actually heard about her from the intro song for Licorice Recoil, which I'm a big fan of that anime. I have like wallpaper, or not wallpaper, but posters and everything. Licorice Recoil, great anime, super cool. It's about these like assassins, but they're like secret assassins that have been hired to protect Tokyo. The thing is that one of them doesn't like killing people, so it ends up becoming a bit of like a comedy. And honestly, the whole vibe of the show is just wholesome. It's colorful. It's like this modern Tokyo fashion design, and overall, it's just super good. I'm just a big fan of it. Yeah, so Sayuri did the theme song for it. Hana no whatever tower is. I always forget what tower was in Japanese, but it's like the Flowers Tower or something like that, or Tower of Flower. Super cool. We're also going to go off kilter here, and we'll talk about Kate Bush. So everybody probably knows Kate Bush from Stranger Things, because of Running Up That Hill was played in the most recent season of Stranger Things, and she got a lot more popular because of that song. She is from the 80s, of course, but I am, I'm not going to be like the guy that's like, I listened to her before she was cool, because I didn't. I honestly didn't. I heard Running Up the Hill before, it's nothing new, but then when Stranger Things came out and it blew up, I happened to be online and somebody mentioned that the whole album that Running Up the Hill came out on is great, and honestly, it is. So this is Kate Bush, Hounds of Love. This is the album that Running Up the Hill is on, and it is honestly is a phenomenal album if you are a fan of like 80s. I mean, I guess pop is the word, but it feels a bit more weird than pop. Huge fan. I will say, if you listen to it for the first time, it's great to listen to like where you're working, because the vibe of it is great. But if it's the first time you're listening to it, definitely use headphones, because there are certain songs in here that like connect into each other. So it's like the first half is honestly, the first half of the album is kind of like 80s pop vibes that are just like, kind of familiar, you know? Yeah, art pop. There you go. But the second half is where she starts getting really weird. So uh, they start kind of going into each other. So Dream of Sheep, if you listen to it, kind of goes into Under Ice because she's like falling asleep. But then Under Ice kind of goes into Waking the Witch because she's like having like a nightmare or something. I don't know. It just it all kind of flows into each other really well. The way I'm sure she didn't make them in order, but the way they flow in order is great. And I definitely recommend it with headphones, just because of Waking the Witch specifically has like this stereoscopic feeling to it, where you can feel left and right. Super cool. So let me put her back, and we'll talk about let's see here, one more before we get back to work, because our boss is gonna be after us if all we do is talk about music. Let's see here, A B C D F G H I J K, so G H I, Kate Bush goes here. Another great musical, by the way, La La Land. Big fan of Emma Stone in general and Ryan Gosling. And La La Land has like this jazz feeling to it. Super cool. But the reason why I mentioned it is because the next one that we're going to be looking at here is, well, actually no. Let's bring up my obsession with Blade Runner here. So I have the. Let's see if I can grab all three of them here. I have. There we go. So, in order, I have the Blade Runner soundtrack. All right, from the original movie. Huge fan. And then I have the Blade Runner sequel, 2049 soundtrack. Again, huge fan of that movie. Ryan Gosling nailed it. And then Blade Runner Black Lotus soundtrack, which I still need to find the time to actually watch this. But honestly, like, all of it, all the Blade Runner soundtracks, I cannot recommend enough. It is just like so good. It's just so, if you really like this kind of 80s, maybe very early 90s, like synthetic, almost like ominous music, it's so nice. And it's also, none of it has any kind of lyrics or anything like that, so it's great to listen to while you're working, because you can kind of just zone out and listen to some great music. Yeah, I think that's good for today. I mean, at this rate, we're going to get through my entire vinyl collection here by the time we finish these streams. So, yeah. Welcome. Big shot. Yes, we are live. And I just happened to be taking a break because it was about halfway through the stream and talking about some good music. So, recommend those. Yeah. Akira, I know. I really want to get Akira on the vinyl. I don't even know if you can, because they didn't make everything on vinyl. But Akira and Alita Battle Angel, that'd be another great one as well. You know what's funny about Alita Battle Angel? So, if you watch the movie in case you don't know what I'm talking about, if you watch this movie right here, at the very beginning, probably, I don't know, 15 minutes into the movie, they are working on her, because she's like a cyborg android, and there's a scene where they're working on her, but you could tell the prop design had to just use what they had laying around for that scene, because they are doing like some kind of surgery procedure on her, but the the guy that's doing it, you can see his hand is using kind of like a keyboard with like thumbsticks and everything on it, so he can use that to kind of move the robot's hand around to do the surgery. That keyboard that he's using is my Razer Tartarus. It is the Razer Tartarus keyboard, and they just super glued like thumbsticks on some of the macro keys, so it would fit into the universe well. And because the shot only lasts maybe 2 seconds, where you can see him doing it, you can't tell. But just because I use this every day, I immediately recognized it, and I just thought it was really funny that they they're like, we need something sci-fi, so they just took a Razer Tartarus and just glued some sticks to it. That was genius. That was super funny. Okay, so yeah, let's get back to our piece here. Of course, it is very dark, but before we get to fixing that, I want to lay out the elements first. So let's get back to fixing her corner piece and making it fit better with the story. So we were fixing that, and then we need to add a bit of this kind of like piping that went this way, and then we're going to add a bit of a corner here. Oops, a little sci-fi, so let's make it more square. And then we're going to have it come this way, like that. Something like that, I think works. This shouldn't be solid. Like, this shouldn't be just like one solid value right here. So we're going to add in some of this general shadow value, just to kind of help it feel more like it's actually there. And then we're going to add some, what's the word? Like a facade kind of thing, where you have some depth here. So we want the corner to kind of come out a little bit, like that. Oops. Oops. Come on now. There we go. And then that'll create more of like a sci-fi feeling, because it's got this like 45-degree angle like that. Cool. Cool. Very classic Blade Runner. And then, yeah, I mean, detail-wise, I think that's probably fine as is. I will say there's a bit of a tangent here. So this staircase down here in the distance is following this same line. So it's kind of creating like a connection, which I don't want. So I am going to extend the staircase a bit more to the left. So let's go this way. And then kind of come down that way. And then add more of that neutral gold in there again. There, that feels better. All right. So, looking at the piece as a whole, really all we got to do is work on her design, like actually, cleaning her up. And then we also need to clean up some of the jankiness that's around the area, including this corner right here. This corner right here is bothering me a lot because there's nothing there. And not saying there should be something there as far as like the shot goes, but as far as balancing out the shot, if we have this 30% of the image with something in it, and then we have this 70% of the image as the other stuff, we would like this part to match the detailing of over here. So there needs to be something here, right there. What it is, I don't know. We're just gonna have to figure it out, I guess. So how do we do that? What do we do for that? I don't freaking know. All right, so let's just put that to the side. First off, get rid of her phone. Not saying that a phone is bad in the story. It's not like she doesn't have one. It's just having a phone visible in the shot like that doesn't sell well with her being poor kind of feeling. So you want to remove any kind of like extra accessories that she may have, such as a phone. And then also making this more futuristic-ish, different reality kind of thing. Adding a phone immediately brings it back to reality, where it's like This is just a regular place. So that's why if you notice phones in sci-fi movies or something like that tend to be completely different than what a regular phone would look like. Simply because if you do a regular phone, it immediately just sucks people back into like Earth, like just regular Earth and modern Earth, which if you don't want that, don't do a phone. Just rule of thumb. Of course, you can break it. Any rule can be broken. It's just in art terms, at least. But that one right there is a solid rule of thumb. So her. When we talked about her design, we talked about Sashiko, which was the act of like stitching her jacket together. We couldn't decide whether or not we wanted it to be denim or not. Denim is cool, but as far as color-wise, it tends to be blue or like a gray. So I rather it not be denim. If we did that, we could just kind of make it more like, I don't know, cotton or something. So that way we can play around with the color a bit better, because if the fox, which we're calling Aki, if Aki is this glowing blue fox, I don't want her to be blue. I want her to be like connected by friendship, but not be directly connected by just blue and blue. So we're going to play with this idea of like red and blue working together. So we want some red on her, but we don't want her to be like vibrantly red. So we, and then if we do like a red jacket, you run into the problem of it feeling, again, a red jacket can be done well. Look at Claire Redfield and Resident Evil 2. Red jacket, great, works out well. But it, and I don't know if this will ever change. It probably will in generations from now. But at the moment, if somebody sees you in a shiny leather red jacket, it's very Michael Jackson as far as design goes. A very like pop star kind of feeling to it. Not so much like a street urban feeling to it, or definitely not like a depressed, sad character kind of feeling to it. So we definitely don't want just a solid red jacket on her. So we're probably going to play around with this like black color she's got going on right now, and this white tone as well. We are going to get rid of her handbag, handobagu. Let's get rid of that. Thank you. Her kaban. Oh. There we go. And kind of just paint that out. We're going to do like here. Like that. And then we shall just paint in the rest of the jacket. There we go. Now, because we did that, we got to get rid of her strap here. So we're just going to go down her back like that. And fix that up by just grabbing some of the nearby environment colors and kind of blending it in. There we go. Cool. Cool. Sweet. Okay, so now she's chilling on the roof. We could use red shoes. Red shoes work as well, because then you can add some more red to her clothing without it being pop star jacket. So we could try that. Let's keep the shoes the way they are. I like these urban shoes. They look like Vans or Converse or something. I wear Vans, but I wear the ones that go up your ankle, so I can never tell if it doesn't have the high ankle what shoe it is. So let's do that. Let's just grab some of that underneath and fix like that, and then grab the other shoe. Whoops. I don't like the tangent there, so I'm just going to grab this shoe like that, create a line in between here, oops, here, and then here, just so I can visually tell that there's a difference in shoe there. And then we're gonna grab here, round off that tongue. There we go. All right. And I forgot the back heel. So like here, sweet. Cool. All right. So now we Control H so we can see what we're doing. And we're gonna grab some red, but we don't want it to be like super vibrant and bright. We want it to keep in the theme. So we're just gonna, not that. So we're going to desaturate it a bit and darken it a bit more. A little bit more. Slightly more color. Okay. Yeah, that works. All right. Cool. So now we can just kind of go over it a different layer to make it easier on us. There we go. And now we can transparency lock and kind of just paint in our own design. Or, better yet, we could do color, darker color, pin light. Pin light works. So do pin light, which I just had it and I screwed it up. There we go. So we do pin light to add some of that red tone to her shoes. And then we can kind of bring back the shoelaces. So if we just change our eraser, there we go, whoops. And then we can kind of just bring back some of the shoelace, like that. Some over here, and there. Do the classic cross shoelace. Same thing there and that side. And now all I'm doing is erasing the red because underneath it's already white anyways. And then we want the sole area to have that white because generally these shoes have white rubber around the sides. So we're just going to keep that idea. Same thing here. These shoes are actually coming off very much like Mirror's Edge. Big fan of that game. Huge fan of that game. Mirror's Edge 1 and 2, loved both of them. People don't like 2 because they say the story was wonky. But honestly, having played both of them, I think the story is just as wonky in 1 and 2. And that's one of the reasons why I like them so much, because you get this game that cares a lot about how it looks and how it plays, and less about the narrative being the leading point of the game. So really you're just playing the game because you like the way it looks and the way it plays. And then the story is there as well, but more as a just a fun part of the game, less of like, I don't know, award-winning writing. But I mean, like having a full-blown crazy narrative with something that's just a first-person parkour game is going to be very difficult to do anyways. Look at Dying Light. Dying Light 1 and 2, they tried to have narratives. Dying Light 2, I think, was worse than number 1 as far as just the... Well, Dying Light 2 had a lot of bugs in it. But also Dying Light 1, they run into this narrative, but like it's a first world parkour game where you are jumping off of zombies and like kicking people off of roofs and stuff. You're not going to have like the strongest narrative setting, because narratives in general, from what I've found, either slowly build through a gameplay that just has like actual cinematics in it or cutscenes that you're just like following the story along, like a lot of Metal Gear Solid does, or the story is something that you're interested in because it's something that you found out, like let's say like Dark Souls and the Souls series in general. You have this narrative to it that's like hidden in the environment and you have to discover it and figure it out yourself. I think those both work, but when you have a game that's like let's say Ghost Runner or Dying Light, Mirror's Edge, like first person, a lot of like intensity, a lot of action going on, the story is kind of going to be there, or even Vanquish, that PS3 game that is just like a very over the top Japanese action game. The story's going to be there for sure, but it's not. I don't think it's going to hit as hard as if you like presented it in this like cinematic way. That's just my 2 cents. That's just my opinion on how a narrative should work, or a narrative can work. But besides the narrative, we got the shoes done. So we have these red shoes now. They look pretty cool. They do come off as Mirror's Edge, which I like. We are going to bring in some of the white around the eyes of the shoe, though, because there's always that like frame that comes around. Something like there-ish. Actually, it'd be more like that. Yeah. All right, so something like that. Cool. Do a little Nike swoosh. We can just kind of noodle, like I said before, on the side to give it like a feeling like there's a design there. All right, and then let's do her clothing. So clothing wise, I like the black. The black on black is great. But we do need to add some interesting elements to it. So I was thinking what we could do is we could use this kind of white tone that she's got here, this value, and add in some like cherry blossom branches with the white, and then use the leaves with red, so that way we have red shoes matching with the red clothing. And then, like I said before, red on the main character is kind of just like a easy rule of thumb to focus on, like this character is the main character because they have red on them. That's not necessarily always the case. Like if you look at Link from Legend of Zelda, he's green. So there's no red anywhere, but red in general is like a solid way to just kind of distinguish the character. So if you notice, speaking of Link, if you notice, Ganondorf has like some warm colors in him, like reds, not solid red, but like oranges and reds and darker colors and stuff like that. It contrasts him very well. So like Ganondorf versus Link. Link is green, Ganondorf's like red. They're colors that kind of work together as far as like being cool next to each other. And we have the same idea here where we have the blue fox, and then we have our main character with red in their clothing. Blue and red also goes well together. So that's the idea. But let's do some cherry blossom ideas. This is a fun thing to do. I like doing branches, like trees in general. In college, there was a friend I had that we would just, because we got bored in class or something, we would just draw like trees in different ways and just have fun. Like I would draw some tree branches, she would add some branches, we would like, I don't know, draw breaking out of a box, just something to like practice while we're bored in class. And it was always trees. It was always just something tree related, because branches are just fun and they're natural, so they have this random element to it, so you're not focused too much on the rules of everything. So her sleeve ends about here. Okay, so what I want is first I'm going to add like a stripe here or something, and then I want the branches to kind of come up her back. So first off, let's add a bit of this tone to her jacket. Why is that not? Oh, because, right, let's go there. All right, so let's add some of the shadows, blend it in a bit. There we go. And then add a bit more here. Trying to match the lighting of the other stripe. There we go. And now we're gonna add the branches. So for the branches, just eyeballing it here, her thigh is like here. I'm drawing in the shape of her thigh so I can visualize where the jacket actually would be. Because with jackets, they tend to go further down, so they kind of hide like the actual body shape. So in this layout that she's got here, her thigh is here, but the jacket would actually start like here and come down to say there, give or take. So we're just gonna use that as an example or as a guideline. So if we cut off the sleeve area, that's the jacket. So okay. So we want to follow the jacket's shape of her body, so that way we don't have to worry about like matching the anatomy later. So let's do the branches starting from down here. So let's just go ahead and cut that out. We want the branches to kind of start down there, something like that, probably. And then we want, well, if it's in the middle, let's say she has a jacket with a tree in the middle, the tree would actually start somewhere down here. And then we would have the branches coming up like that. It is a bit weird if the tree would be right on the edge of the jacket. So let's kind of break that off and then do like that. Okay. Now the tree is a cherry blossom tree, which tends to have more horizontal branches. So we can play around with some cool ideas with that. So if we have it come out like this, have a branch coming in this way, something like that. I'm essentially sculpting something like clay or something, you know? I'm just like kind of roughing out the general shape of everything. So let's see. We got that. Let's put something like that back in. Something like this. And then let's bring in some branches here. I think it's too perfectly spaced out. So we're gonna have some branches kind of coming up like this. Like that. Let's kind of add some more flow to it. Make it a bit thinner at the bottom. There we go. And then we shall add branch coming this way. Like that. Like that. There we go. And then should be good. Cool. So we have this kind of coming up like this, and then this in the middle here. You can space out a bit more just so I can see what I'm doing, and have a main branch coming up. So let's come up here like that. Yeah. We're gonna thin out the bottom again, just to make sure it feels more like a cherry blossom. There we go. And then have this branch kind of split off this way. It's too symmetrical, so we'll probably start from here, like that. There we go. Jacket. Yep. I'm just checking like perspective wise, is it still fitting the jacket? And it is. So we're just gonna come up this way. Cool. And now we're gonna add a little branch offs. Just gonna fix that a bit. There we go. And then we're gonna add little like tiny little branches coming off. You still want to follow the perspective of her jacket in some form. So shape wise, you want to have it kind of follow her figure. There we go. It seems a little bit too thick. There we go. Let's come around this way. A little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit there. All right, so now design-wise, we don't want to overload it with branches. We just want them to feel like they're there. I don't like this one down here. It feels more like seaweed being so perfectly symmetrical like that. So we are going to use that as a base. Okay, and we want it to match this kind of white that she's got going on. So we're just gonna kind of paint that in. We don't want it to be perfectly lassoed in because this is her clothing, so it's gonna be a bit dirtier. It's gonna have some kind of value differences to it with the folds and everything like that. So if we just perfectly put the value in, it would feel weird. Cool. All right, and now we can play around with adding the red. So let's fix this a bit more, make it a bit more obvious there. All right, so now we can add in the red. The red, this is a, like, imagine a t-shirt design or a jacket design. So it's not gonna have perfect rendered out leaves because leaves would be more stylized. So we can kind of play around with that idea. Maybe add a couple of leaves kind of just like floating around the actual jacket, you know? But we do want to focus on leaves coming off of these branches. That's where like most of them will be. So let's do that. Try to do it in like leaf shape, the classic leaf shape where it's like this, you know? Just to add some more like a graphic design feel to this than like a real image would feel. Oops. And some over here, some over here. Yeah, because whenever we're designing like this, we tend to be designing multiple facets of life, right? We're designing environments, we're designing characters, we're designing clothing, props, vehicles, etc. So we end up having to pull design languages from other jobs that we don't normally have. Like if you're designing a car, you got to kind of understand the mechanics of how a car works. And then if you're designing clothing, you got to understand how fashion feels and what works, what doesn't. And then also, does it fit your character itself? So you're designing the person, you're creating a character from scratch. There's so many different hats you have to put on that it helps to kind of just have a general knowledge of like everything. And then if you don't know something, then, you know, look it up, research it, get some information to like fill in that gap of your knowledge. So that way, whenever, let's say you didn't know what a cherry blossom tree looked like, you do the research, you look it up, you figure it out, and then now that you know it, you can do it later without worrying about looking it up. So then you have this library in your head of like just different aspects of design, different aspects of what works, what doesn't, stuff like that. So that way when a client comes up to you and they're like, hey, we need this done, you're like, all right, got it, because you've already researched it, you know how to do it. We're gonna grab this red from her shoes and we're gonna start adding it in a bit. Probably like that. Cool. I am going to now take my artistic liberties of just kind of roughing in some of the red, so that way I don't have to mask it out. I can kind of just add in little bits of emphasis or implying that there's red there. I'm also adding a bit of a what do you call it? The bottom of a jacket, like the frame of the jacket. I'm just going to add that in there just to kind of help it be more visual for the audience that's looking. We know where it is, but if this is your first time looking at this image and somebody just threw it at you, you want some things to be kind of obvious. So we're just creating an obvious little border around the jacket here. We can then add some of that red kind of flowing in there. Then we can continue the branch design on the arm. If we have it kind of come down like this, and then kind of branch off a little bit like that, and then let's say we kind of break that up a bit. Yeah, so it feels more like the edge of a branch because it's going down the arms. So then we can kind of just branch it off like this and like that. That's cool, that works. And then we'll do a little bit on this side as well, just to kind of show that there is something there. If I can do it correctly, there we go. Yeah, so it's kind of like, I'm trying to picture it like it's going down her jacket. It might be cooler if we didn't have it go straight down like that, but if it kind of flowed a bit more to kind of sell the flow of the branches themselves, kind of coming like this. I think that's kind of cool. But we need it to kind of go down still in the same direction. Let's go this way. You'll see me do this a lot, if you haven't already noticed, where I just start like masking out shapes like this instead of painting it first, because this way is faster for me to just kind of outline it and then see where it is, and then we can play around with the values and adjust the entire thing as a whole, instead of me painting out or illustrating the line out first and going from there, because that just, I don't know, takes too long for me, I think. Because if I was sitting there and I'm like, all right, we got a branch, or if I was like, all right, there's a branch, and then I'm doing this kind of thing to kind of rough out the branch shape, when I can just mask it out in like a second. It's just faster. All right, so we're gonna blend that into the sleeve, because we want it to be kind of coming off the sleeve like that. Cool. All right, so now we'll add these red leaves here as well. Just a couple small ones here and there. Again, this is like graphic design, so you're not trying to get a perfect example of a cherry blossom tree. You just kind of get the feeling of it. Something like that. Like here. Over here. There we go. And then I'm going to just add a couple like flowing down the sleeve, similar to how the back has some falling. But we don't want it a lot, because the back already has quite a bit of leaves on it. I want to add just a couple here and there to tie in the sleeve with the back design as well. But I'm also doing the same thing that I did with the people down there, where I'm trying not to create any kind of tangent designs or anything like, or tangent lines or anything like that. I'm trying to keep it pretty spaced out well, to where it's not feeling like it's being just duplicated everywhere. All right, so let's grab that red again, come across like that, sweet. And then I'm noticing again that I created a line here by accident. There we go. So let's kind of do this thing, kind of just fix that by throwing in some random stuff here. All right. Cool. So from a distance, from here, it should read well. Yeah. So now we have this kind of jacket that she's got going on. This, I think, is wrong. Her border down here probably goes like that, more likely. Something like that. Feels a bit like a varsity jacket, which is fine. Yeah, It's fine. Okay, so we've got her jacket designed. Her dyed hair is kind of cool. I don't know if I like it for the character though. So we're gonna see if we just remove the gray dye and bring back in this like dark black hair. I think that's fine. It comes off more, depressed with the black hair, black outfit. Of course, that doesn't mean if you wear black you're depressed. I mean, I'm literally wearing black, and everything's fine. It's just character design. If somebody sees this person without knowing anything about them, having darker colors, darker values, tend to immediately come off as like either serious or rebel or dark, like just kind of sad person, while still being like visually interesting. Because when it comes to fashion design, as long as you have a couple pieces of clothing, different pieces of clothing that are matching the color, then it feels a bit more attractive as far as like a fashion option. So we have red on her jacket matching the red on her shoes. In real life, I would also put red sunglasses here, but I don't think she should be wearing sunglasses. Just as a character design, we want her face to be visible, just so we can feel the emotion that she has missing her brother. Just fixing her ear here. She had like an earring. There we go. Okay, so we did that. Cool. All right. I think the darker hair is better. Yeah. Okay. So now, first off, I'm going to fix this line because it's bothering me. So this line that goes across here was part of the roof tiling, but we took the line that was going this way, we took it out because perspective wise it was wrong. So now it's gone, so we need like a line going this way to kind of fill in the idea that there's a tile here of some sort. So let's do like that. It's kind of just drawing a couple lines here, keep them in perspective. Something like that works. All right. Cool. Sweet. Okay. I think honestly we can probably bring the letterbox in a bit more. So if we go into like here, like there, and then whoops, and then duplicate this, come down here, something like that works. Okay, so now I'm just gonna put it down a little bit more, bring it up here. Okay, so it's a little thick, I think. So we're just gonna thin it out a little bit, but it still works better, I think, that way than the way we had it before. All right, so now we can add in some plants, the potted plants on the roof. Now, in theory, we could add potted plants on the roof where she is, which I think is a great idea, but we could also extend the roof to the right and have some more potted plants over there. No, all right, I figured it out. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're going to make a sign here, big sign. All right, huge sign, the biggest sign anybody's ever seen. Not really. We're just gonna put like a sign right here, and we're going to fix it in perspective. So like this way, and then straight across, like that. There we go. Now this sign is going to act as a frame piece. So we want it to be dark, but we don't want it to be as dark as our letterbox. Here we go. So then we can have this sign here as a way to add some kind of interesting element on that side of the image. There we go. But because it's dark and it's it's close up, we want it to be a bit more what's the word here? A bit more interesting to look at. So we're kind of using it to fill in a space here. So like there. So we want it to be, I'm looking at the navigator to see if we just cover the whole thing, it looks, So yeah, I think that's fine like that. Now we can just play with the colors of it. So we're gonna add some more of that neutral red in there. Kind of just do like that. Keep that black border around it, because that would be like what the sign is hanging on, what it's attached to. And then we can add some of that gold, but darken it a lot. So we get something like this. Something like that. Kind of swirl around. Do the same thing here. And then we can add some of that writing as well. But of course we don't want it to be super bright. So we're gonna kind of just rough it in a bit. It is closer to us though, so we have to kind of pay more attention to the detailing just because it's right up on the camera now. So I'm just going to space it out a bit like actual kanji would be. And I'm not actually making kanji here. I'm just kind of remembering what kanji looks like from me studying it for a while now. So I'm just kind of borrowing certain things that are in kanji and then creating our own little idea here to make it feel more like some kind of blend of Asian language, but it's not actually Japanese or anything. Just like that. And then have another one right there. We can also do a hone, which is a bit more like this. And then do something like that. And like a little bit more here. This one we can probably just do a Tanaka kind of thing. Do like that. Okay. And then we are going to add a bit of like this. Just add a bit of like a border around where the words are. And then we could separate them with black lines like this to make it feel more like it's laid out like that. That'd be right. We'll kind of just add some of that shadowing I mentioned before. Just enough to kind of feel like it's sticking out. And then we come across this way, that way. Boom, boom. Go up here. Whoops. Go up here. Add a bit of shading. And this is not even what I consider like actually shading. This is just implying that these are like 3D symbols that are on the sign. They're not just painted on directly to the sign. And then we can do a little bit of a separation here, but with somewhat of a frame to add some coolness to it. There we go. Again, 45-degree angles. It's the way to go when you want like some kind of interesting design element that feels a bit more futuristic. Okay, so we can leave the sign like that, I definitely want to add a bit more of a obvious like pole that it's hanging on. So I'm just going to come across this way like that, and then even add some cables here. Oops. Like that. And then we'll add a bit of a black border down there. There we go. Cool. Sweet. So now we can do that. That's all fine and dandy. We can add a couple of like implied wires coming across this way, because we forgot that, well, we didn't forget, but we just didn't add those yet. Just to add more to the perspective. Let's come this way. Something like here. Cool, cool, all cool. All right, so now it is time to do the plants. The plants, we're just gonna keep them, you know, fairly simple. We're just gonna have some potted plants that she's been taking care of. So just sitting right on the roof. You can do that with a masking tool. Here we go, lasso tool, not the marquee tool or anything. And just honestly, just draw some pots, you know, some taller, some shorter. Do a little bit of an edge detection here. Just keep it like that. Let's do some over here. Keep them around her, like the actual pots themselves, kind of frame her around the pots, or frame the pots around her. Something like that. And then we can probably have like one here, small one. Here we go. And then probably one more over here on the edge. Just like another size difference over here. There we go. Sweet. And now we can, because this is a darker area, we can use black to light it up, or you know, to place them at least. And then we can add some of this clay color into the actual pot itself very gently. Just keep it dark. All right. And now the plants themselves. Plants themselves are not that hard to do, but I do have a way to cheat it because I have some masked plants already, just as part of my references here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of shadow underneath them here, just to kind of sell the fact that their shadow and reflections should match hers since they're on the same surface. So I'm kind of just copying what her shadow is doing. There we go. All right, so we could mask out the plants, but because they're so close, I think we may do better if we use the like actual images of plants that I have masked out. So references, plants and flowers, and then we could do stuff like this, which has a bit more of a interesting vibe to it. And we could do something like this. Kind of just place it here, make it a little bit fatter. There we go. And then just cut it to where, you know, it's in the pot. There we go. And then darken it as much as we can without losing it completely. There we go. Cool. And now I'm going to change the color of it to more green. There we go. A bit more green. Not teal, but like green, like grass green. There we go. Drop the saturation a little bit, but keep it pretty green because we want it to be obvious that this, we want to, I don't know, visually sell the connection between the plants that she has being green and then the fact that the graveyard is a lot of green compared to where she normally lives. So we're just going to keep doing that for the rest of them. Just keep adding some plant variety here. Let's cut this out so it matches the pot. And then again, darken it to like there. And then make it more green. Just like that. Cool. And then let's do it again. What's interesting about photos though is that every time we grab something that looks like this, where it's just a bundle of stuff, we can use the same image multiple ways to kind of spread variety without having to have a good billion images. So what we can do is we can just grab this part down here instead of the top one like I used last time, and or the rest. And now we can put that in a different pot. Something like that. Cut it around the pot's lip, flange, what have you. There we go. And then again, darken it, make it green. So levels, darken to like there. Saturation, bit more to like there. And then fix the masking I did. There we go. Now, let's do two more. Let's do something like this. Like a fern would be cool. Not a huge one, obviously, but just like a fern plant coming out of the pot on the closest end. So like here. Let's kind of turn it a bit and then darken it. Darken. Okay, and then a little bit less. Yep. And then add some more color to it. Make it green. There we go. And now one more. Probably do another fern. So let's do like probably this one, which is slightly different than the last one, and put it over here in the corner piece, like right here. Turn it a bit, just add some like variation because it's a plant. Bring out the darkness. And then make it more green, more saturated. Like that. Cool. And now we're going to fix this part of it. There. Alright, so that's all cool. She now has some green around her, which sells the idea that she, you know, is attached to the graveyard versus this like disgusting like city of just a ton of crap going on. Now, lighting adjustments we can do now, and then we'll probably call it after that. So make a checkpoint, duplicate layers, merge said layers. There we go. And now we can just do auto tone, auto contrast, see what it comes up with. Usually it's not the best, yeah. And then we're gonna do levels, crank the highlights up a bit, drop the midtones down a little bit more. Okay, before and afters, slight adjustment. And then she doesn't stand out, I think, enough. So, you know, from the background, we don't want her to stand out too much. We still want it to be dark, but we do want to add some separation between her and the background. So I'm going to use her back as a great way to do that. and the back of her hair. And just do this kind of thing. And then we're going to deselect the plants and the roof. Go. All right, so we're gonna do that thing I used before where I take a brush, put it on screen, drop it by to 30-ish, and then grab a color that I want to use. At this point, it's gonna be like a bluish color, and kind of separate her from the background like that. And then do the same thing on this part of her on this side. I'm avoiding separating her face too much because masking out a face takes way too long. Not that it would take 3 hours, but it would take a long enough time to where I don't want to do it. So we are going to just use her shoulder as a way to add some depth here. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing with the signs. Signs themselves. Well, I don't know. Hold on. Let me do a little more here. Okay. So then the signs. Signs are easy though because we can just do this where we go back to our sign layer, which was here. Select everything behind the sign, and then go back to our checkpoint and kind of just add in some depth behind the signs. Just very, very rough, soft, brushy kind of feeling to it, but it is enough to create some depth in between everything. I'm actually just going to push these signs in the back, so we're just going to screen over them. And this one too. Okay. Kind of add some more push things in the back kind of feeling. Cool. Cool. All right. I don't like, now that we have everything ready, I don't like this green right here. So we're just going to content aware all that out. Thank you. I want to content aware here to see what happens. Nope. I don't like this white right here poking out. I do want to content aware all of that and see what happens. Nah, it's too busy, I think. That's better. Okay, so let's get rid of this blackness right here, just because it's too dark for the depth that we have going on here. Don't like this plant right here because that takes away from her plant. And yeah, all right, so I'm gonna add a couple more of these vertical signs, but these are not gonna be very big and they're not gonna be very distracting by any means. They're just gonna be implied enough to where it creates just some more interesting stuff going on. So let's put there. I feel more like this place really sucks to live at. There we go. And again, they're not going to be big or anything. I'm just going to grab some of these colors and start adding it in to certain areas here. Just to imply that they are signs there. Go. Okay, so now let's do some dodging and burning, which is fairly easy. Just gotta keep it, be careful with it. You don't want to over dodge and over burn anything. Just gonna increase how bright it is over there. I don't like that blue, so I'm just gonna get that out of there. And then do a little bit here and there and kind of break up some of that blue. Go. And then a little bit brighter there. A little bit darker on the edges. A little bit brighter here. We want to brighten up her face a smidgen, just to make it a bit easier to see the character that we have here. A little bit on the grass, darken the roof. You'll notice I'm darkening midtones, not shadows. If you do shadows, it's way too like strong, and it creates more of a vignette around the image. If I do like this, don't want that. So we're just gonna keep midtones as one that we're adjusting because it's easier to not overblast it with the darkness. In fact, I'm just going to content aware here and see what happens. Like this part right here. Alright, so I think that's the last fix we're going to do, and then we're going to call it there. This line right here on the right side I think is too bland. So I'm going to fix this, and I like that white right there. There we go. And then I'm going to grab just all of this, copy and paste it, and kind of just do like that. Lighter color, reduce how light it is, like that, and then create a another like apartment building here. Like that. Get rid of that. Content aware of that. There we go. Cool. So now, if I do like this, it creates a pole, which is great. I go like that. It's too dark there. Okay, so we're just gonna, whoops, on shadows. That's what I just talked about. So I'm just gonna darken that bit, and then we're gonna kind of stretch it out a bit like that. Cool. Now we're gonna merge it to our main layer and content aware that line out right there. But too much, I think. So let's do less. Less is more, unless it's time. Then more time is better. Okay, so we're creating a weird thing here. I really just want to get rid of that line and that right there. Okay. So compositionally, it is still pretty center, you know, everything's centered right here, but she is over here with her grass to kind of counteract everything. I think overall, this came out, you know, pretty solid as far as a way to show the city that she lives in compared to the actual graveyard forest and everything. So because this design, I think, works really well with her, this jacket design with the black and white and red, when we go back next week to the refine phase and we refine the shot of her meeting Aki, the Kitsune spirit, we are going to use this example of her clothing and fix it. Now, before I call it, this is where we're going to stop as far as like the actual piece goes. But for the, and again, this is just a rough sketch. This is not like a finished piece. We did that in what, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So, this is something that would take time to like clean up and everything like that. But this is a supplementary piece. So this is a piece that's kind of just there to show you the environment that she lives in. So at the moment, I don't think this is a major piece that we need to focus on refining a lot at the moment, at least. So what I'm thinking is next week is the refine phase, or the polish phase. I'm going to show you how to go back to our art Bible, because right now it's just layered out with a ton of photos and random text, and like the spacing between, it looks awful. It's hard to read. So I'm going to show you how to fix that in like 30 minutes. It's really fast. And then for the rest of the time of next week, I'm just going to go back to our first piece with the Kitsune spirit and start adding more details that we've talked about, that we've kind of come up with along the way that we didn't have when we first started, such as her clothing design or those paper talismans that I put on the shrine last week. That was not planned. That kind of just came up. So we're going to go back and clean up that piece more, I think. So that will be our next stream, is just refining the art Bible and then refining that piece, so we can just kind of push that some more, since that is like the main selling point. And then the week after that is the review y'all's pieces, like all of y'all's art. So, just keep in mind, if you are following along and doing your own projects, post it in the concept art channel and Discord. I will check it out. Conrad checks it out. All of us, we look at them. And then for that final stream, we can just talk about some of your work and some of your cool stuff. And then, just go from there. And then, of course, if you didn't follow along, but you have, you've done something similar where you've kind of built your own world like this, you can also just like share your ArtStation link or something like that of that project in the Discord, in the concept art Discord, and I can just kind of throw that in there as well. And I'll just you don't have to, it doesn't have to be something you did during this stream, but if it's like a project that you created and you want some advice on like what you could have fixed, what you could have changed, what you did great, something like that, feel free to throw it in Discord. And then for that last stream, we'll kind of just create a list of, because I'm sure we can't get through everything, but we could, because it's still going to be like a 3-hour stream, so we can still get through some people's projects. But yeah, so that is the plan. I think this is the end of this stream. So thank you guys again for showing up, for hanging out with me while we figured some stuff out and talked about some cool music. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday or Sunday, depending on what time zone you're in. And I will see you guys next week, next Saturday at the same time. So thank you for joining me, and take it easy.